I've made over 110 shorts on Frieren in less than 5 months. It's an addiction at this point. The fuel? Memes. Well, of course it has to be memes because, oh my god, Frieren, Frieren, and Stark, they're so memeable, and also, in all seriousness, I just love the series so much. And I know I'm not alone. Do you know how impossible it is to stay in rank 1 on my anime list for weeks without getting review bombed? And to this day, Frieren still holds the top spot. And I believe it's the result of more than just flashy animations, tantalizing action scenes, or heavy fan service. In fact, Frieren has so little fan service that we now consider headpats as one. It's just that Frieren addresses deeper psychological needs. And although Frieren is in the title, her story revolves around another story. The story that not only saving Frieren, but potentially helping us endure the dystopian zombie world we live in.
Spoiler alert.
Frieren is a bundle of items. Now I'll admit, I am probably biased in my thinking about this. Not only do I love the Frieren series, which has been the core of the channel for months now, I also have a degree in behavioral science, meaning I have at least some interest in psychology, just like Frieren's interest in psychology. You know, her entire Beyond Journeys and stuff is for learning psychology. Don't believe me? Here's the recap for you. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a story about Frieren, a pretty young-looking elf, who just completed a 10-year quest defeating the Demon King with her party. Haita, the corrupt priest, Aizen, the cowardly warrior, and the hero himself, Himmel. But then suddenly the harsh reality of Frieren unfolds. Frieren is a cold, nonchalant elfen mage, yet she finds happiness with her party, especially with someone she learns much from. But she's an elf. She'll live for God knows how long, just like she has been living for God knows how long. When Frieren practically looks the same for hundreds of years, her friends are slowly getting older. White hair, wrinkles, back problems, and then that day happens, Himmel's funeral. Frieren has been through these kind of events numerous times, but calling it feels different is an understatement. Why, when Haita and Aizen can still love and accept Himmel's death with grace, when Frieren herself didn't really understand a lot of things Himmel did, why she feels so crushed losing him? Frieren might not understand why, but her tears don't need reasons to flow freely. And following the funeral, Frieren embarks on a journey to understand humans, which basically her learning human psychology. But nonetheless, it's a pretty philosophical colored show and psychologically nuanced if you ask me. Instead of what we usually get from other series, characters sticking to one archetype for half or even the entire show, we see how Frieren changes depending on the situation. And instead of a forced short-time encounter resulting in a long-lasting relationship, we also see how the relationship within Frieren and Stark builds for years by slowly getting to know each other's vulnerabilities, just like virgins would. So yeah, it's a fantasy with some tidbits grounded in reality. And it shows some things that I think are missing from our modern, eternally online society. And it shows us in the most ironic way possible, not even through humans. Frieren. The thing about Frieren is that she's complex. Complexly hot, I mean, no fan service whatsoever, and still gets looted out by so many artists. Thank you, by the way, we love you artists. Well, that's one complexity, but we also get the gist of how complex Frieren is as a character. She's cold, rude, tactless, can't read the room. Sounds kinda basic, but also full of wisdom, has a really high self-awareness about her emotions, actions, and overall what makes her tick. She's also cute, behaviorally, dangerously cute, has an extremely sloppy lifestyle, is actually scared of the dark, and also, in a lot of moments, the epitome of a dumb sandwich. But instead of becoming a total mess, ingenuine, irrationally built character, Frieren doesn't feel fake, at least for me. It feels natural seeing her seriousness, just as natural seeing her smiling cutely while definitely swearing in her mind. And her burst kick of violence and creepy smile, well, that's even more so, because if we dig deeper into the history of Frieren, Frieren was destined for darkness. In the very beginning of the story of Frieren, Frieren isn't the only one with problems. The Demon King's war between humans and demons, monsters running rampant, diseases, cruel climate, it wasn't pretty for everyone, especially for the elves. Yeah, they were hunted by demons. We first see Frieren from the point of view of her master, Flamme. Flamme found Frieren in the destroyed elven village, and Frieren was the sole survivor. Due to pity and Frieren's potential in Flamme's eyes, Flamme unnaturally made Frieren her disciple. And about Flamme, Flamme was not in the right hate space either. She loved magic dearly, of course, but you know what she'll gladly do using magic? Killing demons. So Frieren was educated in a pretty vengeful tune, with the main purpose of killing the big bad, the Demon King. And after Flamo passed away, based on what we know so far, Frieren was on a solo journey for hundreds of years. It was a tough period for her. She didn't use magic for a long time because apparently she got scared by the Demon King. She completely went off the rails of Flama's instructions and teachings, basically. She describes it as a lazy lifestyle. She felt useless as a living being. Yeah. Not a great living condition. So this cat smile, the hopping around Frieren while raiding dungeons, is kind of a miracle when we should probably get a fully depressed Frieren with the level of edges that make our nipples pierce themselves. And all that thanks to a story crafted by a certain someone. A story that not just saved Frieren's life but also the cornerstone of the story that is Frieren Beyond Journey's End, the Dead Man story. It's kinda evil, isn't it? They kindly reminds us about it. Psst, hey, Himmel's dead. This is only a memory, Frieren. He's not coming back, Frieren. And he's there now in Aurora with Flamo, probably kiss. As a person, Himmel is kind of far from perfect. A lot of times, his actions can be viewed as pretentious, kinda narcissistic. I mean, this is a person who is able to piss people off after saving them just because he wants the best pose for his statue. And this is also a person that acknowledges that things he does are probably for himself. And if you watch Frieren, you know that the title hero itself is quote-unquote questionable for Himmel, if you know what I mean. But people don't care. People tell stories about Himmel helping them, lifting their groceries, playing with their kids, drinking with them. You know, mundane tasks that a hero like Himmel should probably avoid doing too much, but he didn't. And keep this sentence in mind because we are going to come back to it again. And the hardest conquest Himmel did was Frieren, probably. Actually, this sounds really wrong, but he absolutely wanted the elf cake, so that's not a lie either. But Frieren, being Frieren, didn't get what Himmel do for most times. Probably because Frieren is an extradin. And yeah, this is why we should touch grass. Before we continue, I think it's easier to explain with a question for this. How do you make sure not to get caught for murder? So let's see here. Stark. In Frieren's journey, Stark sometimes just doesn't know when to shut up. A pretty spot-on example being when he sees a statue of a hero, he always expects Himmel's statue. Then he sees the statue and sometimes it's not Himmel because Himmel is not the only hero ever to exist. He just asks, who the hell is this guy? Keep that words in mind, and we'll get back to Stark later. One of those heroes, other than Himmel, is Cuffed. He's a veteran elf who has already lived for too long, probably far longer than Frieren and probably in another universe, as a vampire villain and a stunt user. In their conversation, episode 11, Frieren said something like this. Being remembered is just our greedy wish as an elf, which relates to my earlier question. How to not get caught with murder? Well, the answer is simple. Either make that person meaningless or kill a meaningless person. And people will just say, who the hell is this guy anyway? In other words, forgotten people, which sadly for elves is a nightmare waiting to happen. Life as an elf is probably really mid, just look at them. Most of them always have this somber tone in them, like they're trapped in some existential dread after living for so long and being left by essentially everyone non-elf. Just like Cuff said, being forgotten after living this long, it's just too cruel. A concern that uniquely was also felt by Himmel, and Himmel fought for it. Brick by brick, he makes sure that people's memories about him is there. Through one merits to the next, one help to another. Wanting to be remembered in a shorter term, building a legacy, is a pretty consistent theme in Frieren. Numerous times we've shown how Himmel's memory still shapes the world even after 20 plus years after his passing. And how the original hero party even still does things they do, just because that's what Himmel would do. Himmel's wish to be remembered led him to build a strong legacy. And it's the answer the elves are looking for. The answer for their fight to resist the inevitable death, being forgotten. But that's not all, you know. You probably think, well, okay, Geoffrey, fine. But what do all of this have to do with, just like you said in the beginning, helping us endure the dystopian to-be world we live in? Okay, slow down, boys, because newsflash, we're not okay here. Do you know what's the leading cause of death for men under 50? Suicide. In the US, suicide numbers reach an all-time high in 2022. Some parts of the world, like mine, are so stressed out by a really high expectations on our shoulders. And for so many of us, probably you and me included, all that we can do is just suck it up. And oh yeah, we have ongoing wars now. Wars! plural. And with how popular Frieren became recently, I think it's a sound hypothesis to make that we probably crave kindness more now. A more mature, meaningful, non-shallow but also realistic kindness. In a stressful time like this, when people are getting more doomerish by day, Frieren brings the opposite. There are places of good, when altruism is paid with goodness in full, when what you do is not only an act of surviving tomorrow or a short-term hedonistic act, instead it has meaning. Himmel's longing to not be forgotten led him to his legacy, the legacy of kindness. I read Frieren manga before the anime, and it actually shook me to the core. Can you imagine? What if someone asked to a certain someone, why did you do that? And the answer is, because I know that you would do the same. Honestly, I will cry myself to sleep probably. Just a little reminder of kindness from Frieren. But you know why all of this happened in the first place? Why Flamme, a pretty straight-laced person with all of her busyness and Himmel kept Frieren close all that time? Because Frieren is hella cute! That's a half joke by the way.